Sometimes, despite your best efforts, your recovery gets derailed. Powerful life triggers, a lack of support, a wrong turn. Relapse happens. It's frustrating, but the important thing is to not wait another day to get back on track. Foundation's Recovery Network is here to help, with more than a dozen outpatient programs and 6 residential treatment centers to choose from. Our co-occurring treatment model gets to the root of your addiction, putting you back on the road to recovery. Call 877-714-1318 to reach our confidential helpline 24/7. We're waiting by the phone.
That Sober Guy podcast contains adult content, merciless truth, and emotional nudity. Listener discretion is advised.
Yo, what's up? Welcome to Sober Guy Radio. Thanks to Humans for bringing us in, as always, and thanks to you for supporting the show. We're live at Innovations in Recovery Conference in San Diego, California, brought to you by the amazing Foundations Recovery Network. What a great group of folks brought us down here. We got the whole fam with us, the Jess, Lucy, Cash, all coming down here to join and hang out with some awesome people and talk about some great things that are happening in the recovery community. The weather here is phenomenal. Wouldn't expect anything less in San Diego. And we're going to talk today with Patrick Smith, and Patrick is the clinical program director at Orange County Recovery Services. And also understand, Patrick, that you have a great story of recovery yourself. So we're going to get into a little bit of both of that today. Welcome to the show, man. It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great. We've got a little beach action going on. We got lots of interesting and creative and very smart people walking around too. I love the mix of different folks. How's things going with you, man? What are you up to these days?
Oh, these days. Well, first of all, really excited to be here. Thanks for having me. And you know, the intro and when it talked about emotional nudity got me a little scared. So I'm
stripping it down.
Yeah,
baby.
stripping it down. But man. You know, I'm another sober guy, and have a long story of addiction, and the good news is it's an even longer story of recovery.
That's great. It's even better.
Yeah.
Let me read a little bit about Orange County Recovery Services. It's a state-licensed substance abuse treatment facility located in Huntington Beach, California. They provide confidential, solution-based treatment options for individuals and their families confronted by drug and alcohol-related issues. Studies consistently shown that recovery rates are significantly higher for clients in a structured, intensive outpatient program during their first year of sobriety. I know that you guys have, and I don't know a whole lot about the program, obviously, that's why we're talking today, but I know that there is a very set structure, which really does seem to help. We need structure in recovery. I know I do, at least.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, absolutely. You know, structures is a big part of recovery. It's also a big part of the disease. I mean, ritual is a big part of a daily living in addiction. And
it is.
So structure is something, you know, I've been working with young adults for quite a long time. That's been my sort of niche. I kind of fell into it. You know, before we started with Orange County Recovery Services, and I was able to, because they basically just handed me this program.
Really?
And said, here you go, run with it. And I come from working in an addiction treatment hospital setting. I was a counselor at Betty Ford Center for many years.
Really?
And it was ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's having a GED from the Department of Corrections and being able to do what I was doing.
Isn't that wild, man?
Well, I mean, I started as support staff and found out that I had a gift for working with guys and specifically able to connect with the young guys in a way that they love and appreciate. And so I just kind of, you know, my job kind of chose me. I didn't really choose it. Betty Ford Center was incredibly supportive of me as an individual and working into being a clinician. And so they built up a young adult track around me as the primary counselor. I'm that guy that you'll put the Kmart gangster, wannabe tough guy, and the super entitled guy with. I kind of have a knack for working with them. In of course a loving way.
Of
wink,
course.
Wink.
Yeah, gotta be loving. Otherwise, you know, hey.
And but I come straight at the guys. And that structure is something that they respond to. Most young men will not tell you that they want and need structure, but they truly do. They need it. They respect it. They love it. They depend on it. And it's amazing. And what I found out over my years of working with young men is that they will go to incredible lengths to see if you're who you say you are. They appreciate and respect boundaries and honesty, and so I think that's one of the reasons they respond to me so well. But structure, with the sober living that we work with, Ohio House, and our intensive outpatient, it's a really solid 1-2 punch, because the sober living really provides the structure and support, the brotherhood, the fellowship that they need, because they're only with us in our IOP for 3 hours a day. So the other 21 hours a day, they're with Ohio House, and they're in the sober community, and that's a big part of what we do, is plugging these guys into the sober community, holding them accountable to getting involved with 12-step recovery and meeting attendance, obtaining and working with a sponsor, not just kind of hanging out and going to the beach all day. But it's one of those things that's cool. We're good with going to the beach, man, but do your work first. Work first, play later, and that's a concept young men don't necessarily get. So we're really big on structure and support and accountability, and we have a really good seamless communication with the sober living and what we're doing at IOP. They're actually part of what I refer to as the multidisciplinary team. The sober living and the house managers are always called in when we have to have a meeting for whatever reason with the client. They're always included. So transparency is a big part of recovery, and it's a big part of treatment too.
Yeah, I find it interesting. You pointed out, that especially young men need structure. They don't admit to it. Between the structure and between admitting I need some help, there's such a huge gap there that's looked at as weakness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so difficult to even take that next step to say, hey, you know what? I need some help, and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I know for me that was a tough spot. And once I did it, man, it felt like the weight of the world was off of my shoulders. So how do you take someone though who doesn't want? What up, man? How do you take somebody who doesn't want the help, or at least doesn't want to admit that they want the help? How do you kind of approach or talk to that?
Well, the good news is that I of course I can have that talk, and I'm happy to do that, but I'm just a real advocate of a positive peer culture. And it's amazing when you take a young adult who's got the attitude, they're resistant, because they're ultimately willful and all-powerful, and they know it all and all that good stuff, and don't want to expose any weaknesses. But when you put them in a recovery environment, and you've created a culture that involves transparency, and the guys, the senior guys that are in the houses, you put a guy that's really resistant. To be honest with you, I sit back and let them do a lot of the work, because, it's just a culture that we've created in regards to, because they hear stuff from each other different than they hear it from me. Even though I'm a cool-looking guy and all that good stuff, I got a great beard and awesome tattoos.
You do have a pretty rad beard, that's for sure.
Well, it's the beard of knowledge. It's white. It hasn't always been that way. The main thing is I can tell them all day long what they need and all that stuff, but I let the community show them. And, of course, I'm always there to speak some truth to them and come straight at them in regards to my own experience, in regards to both in personal, in a personal way with my recovery, but also as an addiction professional. Because, truth be told, I've been in this business doing this about as long as a lot of them have been alive. And, and that doesn't really go very far, because they look at me like an authority, even though I look the way I do and act as cool as I am. I'm the program director. I'm the clinical program director, and I'm an authority figure. And generally, they're going to go right against the authority, no matter what. That's what I did.
Even if you do have a well-respected beard, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter, You tell me what to do, I'm going to rebel. That's it. So we let the community show them. That positive peer culture is something that we work on and develop and maintain in a healthy recovery community, and just guiding these guys and letting them, because a lot of them they'll just test boundaries. That's what they do. They test you and test, and it's okay. Like I said, they'll go to absurd lengths, and deal with a lot of different consequences.
just to see if people are going to hold boundaries for them, because they're so used to being able to manipulate and push boundaries and see people crumble and all that stuff. And when you don't crumble, they develop a certain amount of respect for you. A lot of times they can't say it, but they'll show it and they respond to it. And it's a beautiful thing. It really is a beautiful thing to see a young guy who's ultimately, rebellious and all that stuff, actually see the value in practicing some recovery principles in their life.
Well, I think too, when you're somebody who's been through it personally, it builds a sort of trust right off the bat. So, and you kind of mentioned that a little bit. I'd love to hear a little bit about your personal experience and how you're able to take that and relate it to these other guys who maybe have related.
Absolutely. Excuse me. I born and raised in Orange County and started with drugs at about 13. I found no-dos in the Boy Scouts, no-dos and cigarettes.
No-dos.
Yeah, heck yeah. And all that other stuff. And I basically bailed out of high school halfway through my sophomore year. Couldn't pull it off because I had a different agenda. I just wanted to be a drug dealer, and I'm going to go on record as saying I'm a horrible drug dealer. I'm a crappy drug dealer. I'm a failure as a drug dealer. I'm a great customer, but a horrible dealer.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And what happened is I got arrested for possession of like 5 minutes after I turned 18 years old. And right to jail. Man. And that started me in a cycle of about 12 years of being caught up in the system, Orange County, jail system, and about 4.5 years of my life incarcerated, and gangs, and you name it, homelessness, and all that other stuff. And with my own personal, story of addiction, I progressed. 80s was all about the cocaine and weed and all that other stuff, and alcohol was always a constant. But in the early 90s, I think right about 90, I found methamphetamine, and that progressed for me to be actual IV drug user, just kind of living the life and being a slave to substances. And I didn't have much choices. My disease took my word away from me, and I was raised that a man is only as good as his word. And when you're taught those values and something takes your word away from you, there's no getting around knowing that you're a phony. That you're a phony. You can't be a man of your word. Your handshake means nothing. Looking somebody in the eye was worthless. And I knew that deep down. I wanted to be a stand-up guy. I had great intentions, real good, motivation to want to be a great guy. But unfortunately, I was truly powerless. And being powerless led me into just being that typical lying, cheating, stealing, master manipulator, trust violator. I get over on everybody that I can. The easy ones twice, if they'll let me. And just ultimate taker. And, so being in and out of the system, because I'm a guy that can survive in jail. Not everybody can do that, but I'm a guy that can do that. That's easy for me. And what ended up happening to me is, I got arrested for the last time in 1993 up in Big Bear. Was up there trying to, be in God's country and make a new start, get away from the Orange County vibe, and
to get out of that zone.
Yeah, the only problem was that nothing changed except for my location, and I started to try to be a cool drug dealer up there, and ended up losing my mind, which tends to happen on methamphetamine. And I was running around the mountains talking to trees and asking them for cigarettes. And last time I got arrested was a couple of Bear Valley sheriffs. I was in this wonderful couple's front yard face down with one shoe on, and really didn't know if I lost a shoe or found a shoe.
I love it.
And if anybody can relate to that, they're definitely listening to the right podcast.
Yeah.
So I got arrested and was, for the first time, was ready to go back to jail. No problem. Knew I had it coming, but this judge that I got put in front of asked me a question, and no one had ever asked me that question before. He looked at me and said, "Mr. Smith, would you like some help?" And I said, yes, I would. And I wasn't even sure I needed help at the time, but I just couldn't get around that gift that he was throwing out there. I wasn't that screwed up. And I said, yes, I would. He goes, okay, Mr. Smith. And I'll never forget these words he said to me. He said, I'm going to throw you a lifeline. And you can either tie it around your waist and tie it to something and anchor yourself and save your life, or you can use it to hang yourself with. And I was kind of thrown back by that. And
you don't hear that every day, especially coming from a judge.
No, I mean I've had some really horrible conversations with judges, and
they didn't go that way.
That went really well comparatively. Yeah. But what ended up happening was that man sentenced me to treatment, for 180 days. So 6 months of treatment was my sentence. And I had no idea what I was going to do or where I was going to go. But I said, yeah, I'll do that. And I did. I called a family friend, and one thing led to another, a series of, blessings and people put in front of me. And I got introduced to this guy, Joe, who worked at a treatment center as a detox manager. And that guy came and saw me and asked me another horrible question, like, what's your problem? And I didn't have an answer for him. And he said he knew what my problem was. And I asked him what, and he says, your problem is you don't know how to live. And I didn't know, it was like getting punched in the stomach. It just knocked the wind out of me. I had no answer for that. So next thing I know, I'm being dropped off at a place called the ABC Recovery Center in Indio, California, about 20 miles past any links. And it was in August. It was hot as all heck.
Yeah.
And I was sentenced there for 6 months. I stayed for 17 months. Something
Really?
happened while I was there. I had reservations when I went.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to quit smoking weed. Alcohol wasn't a problem. But I got the gift there. It was a beautiful place surrounded with people that wanted to be sober and took zero crap from a guy like me.
Yeah.
And they knew there was no hustle I could run on them that they hadn't seen or heard. And they absolutely, got me into on Team Sober. Let me just say, I got on Team Sober. I was on the bench, but I actually got on Team Sober and active.
It's so crazy to me, and what a great, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That I'm sure, I know for a fact there's probably a ton more to the story.
Yes, sir.
But just that, just that brief little part of it, I'm just thinking, like, it's a great example of when we show a bit of compassion, like from a judge's perspective too. Think about how you said you had some other conversations with other judges.
Yeah.
Had that went the same way, you could be in prison right now.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like that trajectory you were headed down. So the reason I bring that up is because there's obviously a huge debate right now about what we do with the epidemic that's going on in the country right now. Yeah. So, some people take the route of the criminal route. No, but I don't think personally that is the right way. And I think that your situation is a great example of that. You've been able to take that. It took a minute, right?
Sure.
17 months there.
Yeah.
You had some ups and downs, I'm sure. What's up, Jordan? But once you get to that spot, now you flip the script and you're giving back.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that real quick. The selfishness of the disease, the selfishness of running hustles on, some people multiple times, lying, cheating, the whole 9 yards, right? Completely flip the script, and now you're serving others, you're serving your community, you're serving other men in recovery, you're helping people change their lives. Yeah. I'm sure you're making a lot of mothers out there happy who are getting their sons back. Talk about that part of it, man, because I think that's amazing.
Well, the families are just brutalized. They're held hostage, and I terrorize my family. I can't think of a better word to describe myself as other than a terrorist. And that's maybe I don't know if that's PC, but bottom line is I was terrorizing the heck out of my family and everybody. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to flipping the script and going from that transition of being in the problem and getting into the solution, it's definitely a process. And if I can, say anything to any family or any loved one, I think that sometimes helping can hurt, and people need to find what their motivation is and all that stuff. And the fact that young men.
What do you mean by helping can hurt?
Well, sometimes, because we have a tremendous genius with kind of attacking people in a way that we know they're going to respond best. And, because, I have heard these phone calls putting, guys on the phone with their parents who are like, I need to leave. And they're on the phone talking to their parents saying, this place is like a prison, and all this stuff. And it's ridiculous. They have no idea. They've never been to prison. They don't know what that's like. But that's just the kind of stuff they use. And, if I go hungry, it's your fault. If I'm sleeping under a bridge, it's your fault. And
blame the world.
Just playing that guilt card. It's just so brutal. And so, the family contact, especially with our program, is something that I learned early on in this field, just how important it is to align yourself with the family, to support the family, because most of the time the family are the ones that are the hammer.
Yeah.
And if you can't use the hammer, you're screwed. Not having that tool, ain't nothing going to change if nothing changes. But aligning myself with the family, or aligning our team with the family, supporting them, educating them, remaining in contact. And one of the things that we hear, and I don't mind boasting a little bit here, but a lot of the feedback we get from our families is they say we've never had the amount of communication and support from any program of the 11 or 12 or 5 or 10 programs they've been before that we have with you guys. And that's just for me, it's a must. It's critical.
Is that just an open line of communication, flat out, to where you're
absolutely.
You're kind of letting them know what's going on?
Well,
it's huge.
We do a lot of family contact. It starts from before they walk in the door, and the day they walk in the door. I mean, besides the admissions and intake counselor connecting with the family, the counselor connecting with the family, the client advocate talking with them. We have a vocational and educational coordinator that talk to them. We do a full family questionnaire. Our therapists call and do a full family history with them, get as much information as we can, so that we can, because the more we know, the better we can serve them.
Yeah, sure.
And it's important to know just how sick the family is, so we know how to support them, because a lot of times, sometimes the family is sicker than the client, and it's and they don't have any drugs to deal with it.
And it is such an important aspect of it, because the family, the kids, the spouse tends to get overlooked a lot of the time, or they're in the shadow. You know what I mean? It's because it's such a selfish disease, and yet even in the recovery aspect, it's still selfish, because it's all about that person, because they're trying to fix themselves, trying to fix the wreckage that they created. So it's like, man, how do you deal with that from a family perspective?
Well, and the other side, that's absolutely true. But the other side of that is sometimes families don't want to. I mean, they're like, please just
they're
fix
done
him.
With it.
Yeah,
they're done.
Just
with
take
it.
him, fix him, and I don't want to hear about it. I'm done hearing about it. I'm done talking about
exhausted, probably just mentally exhausted.
They're brutalized. Just brutalized. So we try to just get them connected with some healing. We're doing what we do with the clients, and we're big advocates of them getting into their own form of recovery, whatever that looks like, whether it be through Al-Anon, or through individual therapy, or through a support group, or our portal on our website. We've got a family portal that allows them to communicate with each other, ask questions, talk to our therapist Param Nimatola, and he's got a thing, Ask Param, and he answers questions and supports them all the way through, and start a dialogue with themselves, because our big motivation is to get the clients, the patient, into supportive recovery community with peers that understand what they're doing, and we want to do the same with the family. They need to be with their people. We've got the clients with their people, and we need to get the family with their people.
Back on the same page.
Because a lot of them have no hope, and it's amazing when they talk to a family who can step up and say, you know what, as soon as I cut his credit card off and said no more, and let him walk around the street for a few days, it was amazing how willing he got. and the other parents are sitting there going, oh, I can't do that, and they're like, yes, you can, and that's the only thing that worked for us. And that's not always the answer for everybody.
Everyone's different, I think.
But it's really important for them to have that support.
So when we're talking about we're talking a lot about being in treatment and being there. Another important aspect of this, probably equally as important, is when we as addicts go home. Right, we got to go back into the real world, man. We got to try to get a job. Like we already talked about families. We got to try to mend those relationships. And at the same time, try to find out who the heck we are. I mean, that's a difficult thing. Like, I guess I want to ask you personally. I know when I came home from treatment, I share this story a couple times. It's funny, man. I'm not a cowboy by any means. I love old Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, Merle Haggard. Love that old country stuff. The stuff right there. And but I've never dressed like a cowboy or anything. Right? Well, I got home, and I literally had no idea who. I didn't even know. So I told my office, I'm going to be a working man. I went out and I bought these work boots and these Wranglers and like this hunting vest. I've never hunted in my life, right? I was so confused. I had no clue. Like, what am I doing? Like, who am I? How do I have fun? And be who I am. How was that for you, like almost recreating yourself? Or I don't want to say recreating yourself, finding the true you. I think that's an important topic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was lucky. I mean, a lot of our clients are coming from out of state. They're completing primary care at other programs. A lot of them are Foundations referrals.
Yeah,
I mean, I got to give props to Foundations Recovery Network and the programs that they have, because they trust us and believe in us. And a lot of times, we're not looking to send the clients back to home because it's not a safe place for them. Now, there are those that are going to go back home, need to go back home, whether it be for school or whatever. But for me personally, I was lucky enough to leave Orange County, go out to the Coachella Valley, get sober, and I stayed there. And it was like a fresh start. All new people, a whole new support system, no unhealthy relationships, and start fresh. And that's exactly what I needed. Not everybody has that opportunity to do that, but I did. And I ended up coming back to Orange County, full circle after about 18 and a half, almost 19 years after getting sober and coming back. But, man, it just comes down to following the herd and find out who I was, not knowing who I was, because I'm a chameleon. I don't know how you were,
Same. I will fit in with the homeless guy on the street or the rich dude it doesn't matter, Yeah,
I mean, I can conform to whatever I need to survive in any situation, and that's something I learned from a young age. And but finding out who I am was a process, and it took some time. And I didn't do it perfectly, like I don't think any of us do. But, finding out who I was a process. And for me, it was so important for me to be surrounded by older, sober men. I needed some mentors to guide me through the process.
I think as we grow too, I know for me, I'm still continuing each day while working a program, and just like you're saying, being around other people in recovery. I learn a little bit more, I feel like, each day too, about myself and growth, and or figure something out. And I think that's the exciting part of waking up every day. Like, I used to wake up every day and know what was coming. Like, I was gonna get intoxicated and probably say something or do something stupid, especially towards the end. And now it's like something new every day. I wake up, I don't know what God has in store. Like, let's see though. I'm excited to get up and do it. My wife doesn't like it sometimes because I'm up so early with the lights on making noise. So what are you doing? Go back to sleep, man. Nah, I'm ready, man. I'm ready to start the day.
Yeah, my head woke up 5 minutes before I did. We're ready to go.
Oh man, I struggle with that one. My thoughts are already rolling. Well, Patrick, man, it's been great to have you on. Let's wrap this up. I want to ask you one more quick question. I think I'm going to make this a part of the theme as we continue on with other guests too. One of the things that is so important in recovery is to have some fun, man. It can be a very serious situations, I guess. Next to that, we got to have fun, man, no matter what. And obviously we don't do that through drugs and alcohol and abusing ourselves anymore. So what's your take on having some fun, man? Like, what can you speak to people out there about recreating this new life for themselves and really enjoying it?
Well, getting active and, because addiction's all consuming. It's a full-time job and it interferes with everything. There's no doubt about it. It's amazing. I had no idea that I could write. I hated school, and it's just amazing. I think it's a process. Being surrounded by people that are active and doing stuff, because every young guy's fear when they're getting sober is life is over, it's gonna suck, it's gonna be boring, and it's just not the case. There's a young adult sober community that is so strong. They're the Dickie Paw, the Y Paws, all the Y Paw, the young people in AA. They're so organized and they're doing stuff. There's Facebook pages on it and events that they're doing campfires, volleyball,
and it's genuine connections too. It's not connections based on how jacked up I feel, and I'm talking about how they built the Great Wall of China when I have no clue. Talking about a bunch of madness. Like they actually are meaningful conversations. It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it's a great deal. I mean, all it takes is it's that thing, one alcoholic or addict talking to another and connecting in a way that you just can't with somebody who doesn't understand, and finding out that, man, there's sober's fun. I mean, personally, what I do for fun is I ride motorcycles, and I ride with a bunch of sober guys, and we do charity events. We'll show up to a park and hand out blankets and food to homeless people, and it's really gratifying, and doing service work and going to the soup kitchen or the local shelter and doing some volunteering is something that we direct the guys to do, and they're amazed at how much fun it is to be of service and do stuff like that. But ultimately, they're going to have to find. You never know what you're capable of. That thing you were talking about, waking up in the morning and what's today going to be, and being excited about it. Doing new things is a gift of being sober and waking up a free person every morning. So that's my take on that.
I would imagine you're probably not the only dude in your group of homies that you ride with that has a gnarly looking beard and a cool looking guy. I love the image of that at a park handing out blankets, because people tend to judge based on appearance a lot of the time, and I think it's just important for all of us as people, man. We never know what somebody's been through. We never know where they've been, and we don't know what their life was like. And it's important and they don't know vice versa. They don't know what our life has been like too. Right. And when we get to talking to people, and we get out of that shell and we start learning about ourselves, and we can start learning about other people, man, we meet some great people and we make some great connections, and we change lives, man. I love it, dude. Thank you so much for coming on today. If anyone wants to reach out to you, they want to find more about Orange County Recovery Services, where could they go? OrangeCountyRecoveryServices.com. Or they can actually feel free to call me. I don't have a problem giving my number out, 760-574-0101. I'll talk to you, help you out if you're a family member or got problems yourself. If I can't help you, I'm going to direct you to somebody that can. That's a commitment of mine. Patrick, thanks so much for joining us today, man. It's been an honor, been a pleasure. I'm going to see you around this awesome event, man, and we'll hang out later, man. I want to see a braid in that beard sometime. Nah, you can't do it. All right, man. Peace, man.